Hi Mayank, Tejas, Prisha, how are you all?
So we are doing great. Sir,
All
how are
good.
you?
All good.
Doing good. Mayank should join us anytime now.
Okay, sir, not an issue.
So by when can we expect this magazine to come out? This
So,
is an annual magazine for you guys
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an annual magazine, and we'll be launching it in the month of May.
in the month of May.
Yes.
Okay. And it'll have interviews from other CFOs also, or other alumni basically.
Yes, sir. Other alumni and other staff. Good
Wonderful. We
afternoon, sir.
have Mayank sir with us now.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
good
afternoon,
afternoon,
sir.
sir.
So you're on mute.
Not yet audible, sir.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
How are you, sir?
Hey, thanks, Akshay. Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah. Really excited to talk to SSCC students. It's always a pleasure uh,
Yes, sir.
talking to our alma mater students. Yeah, so really look forward. What are you guys up to? You guys are like what, second year, third years?
Sir,
So,
I am
me
in
and
second.
Prisha are first years, and
First,
we have with us Tejas Sonar. He is a second year.
Oh, great, fantastic. And you are what? Hostlers, deskies?
Sam,
no,
Delhi Height.
I put them in Delhi only.
I stay in a PG.
Sustainable. Okay,
Yes.
good. Fantastic. Yeah,
Okay, sir. So, should we start?
awesome. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sir. Welcome, sir. Would it be fine if we record the meeting? Okay,
Yep.
sir. So, good afternoon, sir. My name is Mike Mittal. I am a junior executive member of the Commerce Society. And with me, we have Prisha Gupta, a junior executive member of the Commerce Society. I'll be your host for today, and Mr. Tejas Sonar is the corporate communications head in the Commerce Society itself. Mudra is our annual magazine. The annual magazine of the Commerce Society has a section called the Interview Corner, where we publish the interviews of eminent personalities and great CEOs and founders. So, and this year we have started a new series on our YouTube channel in an attempt to showcase the inspirational stories of such eminent personalities.
Shriram College of Commerce is a premier and prestigious institution in the field of commerce and economics education in the country. The Commerce Society of SRCC has been ranked as the best commerce society across the entire Delhi University and works with a view to creating an efficacious platform of opportunities for those who have an appetite for brilliance. From completing a Bachelor in Commerce from SRCC to now having been a CFO for more than 12 years, and having had the experience of the same in four different companies. Mr. Mayank Gupta, CFO of Cardeco and an angel investor, has always had the zeal for building a successful career in the financial domain. Having done chartered accountancy and working with industry giants such as Maruti, Ecom Express, Tata MG, and now Cardeco, he finally let his true self help him build a great personality, disrupting the tech auto industry and having a top line of more than $150 million is admirable and exceptional. We, on behalf of the Commerce Society, welcome you and are honored to have you with us, sir, today.
My pleasure.
Okay, sir. So the first question is, in your abiding experience for the past 12 years, how would you describe the best and worst parts of being a CFO?
Yeah, so uh, as any finance guy, everybody, our all aspiration is to be the head of our finance function. I was lucky to be a CFO, at early age. In my last 12, 13 years of career as a CFO, uh, you know, it's been generally a very good part. I would say the best thing would be the CFO role drives you to be a co-pilot along with CEO to drive a journey of a company. So the best thing I love about it is the ability to make change and be a strategic thought partner with the leadership team of the company and drive towards vision fulfillment. Where you're not only spending time to do monthly closing, quarterly closing, financial close process, balance sheet, P&L, cash flow, audits, taxations, tax returns, but also going deep, understanding the customer, understanding the problem statements you're solving, and so each company comes at a very, very different stage. In an evolved company where business model is proven, profitability is proven, then I think the best role about a CFO is keep pulling up and pushing up the orbit, driving continuous growth, and then holding on the forte around governance and compliances. However, in early stage companies, where the profitability is yet to be proven, and maybe growth models are still, you have to figure out the next S growth curve. So the role of a CFO is continuously figuring out, how do I build a long-term growth path, and then turning profitable. I think startups today are not profitable. So the best fun I enjoy as a CFO, at least in a startup world, is driving growth with profitability. And the day any company turns profitable, especially in a startup environment, that's a wonderful feeling. Personally, I've felt as CFO in my past avatars, and as a company, we feel as the entire collective employees.
A collective success.
Collective success that now it's proven model, and you've started making profits, and hence that means the business model has been successful. And then of course there comes then the next path is IPO. So running this full spectrum of growth, profitability, and then investor value unlocking through an IPO process where even retail people can come join the revolution. So I think just managing this full piece and while driving all the backbone of core finance processes, payments, collections, taxation, everything else, I think I really enjoy it. On the and in addition, I think what I love, at least in long term, is identifying and hiring great talent, nurturing them, motivating them, and seeing them grow. I think I enjoy that piece as a journey in a big way. And it's not after a point of time, it's not your own success or your company success. It's I think people around you, if you are able to build leaders and see them grow, I think that's the best part I actually love about the job. On the worst side, I unfortunately have not gone through. This is an area I really love. So there's no really worst part. I would say some patches where it pushes her hard is maybe whenever the economic down cycle hits and you need to take some tougher decisions, or in an environment where at the end of the day finance functions are more control functions.
Got it, sir.
So any area where anybody crosses boundary to get people within the boundary, I think those are the situations where we have to act tough as a control function. But that also is part of the job. So
It is part and parcel of everything.
absolutely.
Yes, sir. I really like the fact that you told that you love to see others grow and hiring talent. That's very clean of you. Also, sir, how do you make sure that apart from having a busy schedule, you give time to your family and maintain a perfect personal life?
Yeah. So it's always an evolving journey. I would say the first 10 years of my career was more getting the basic side and learning the work ethics. Going firstly start as an individual contributor. So for me, first 10 years was like primarily work focus and little bit focus on the family. Just bare minimum, just make sure keep family just like sane,
Satisfied.
just satisfied.
Got it.
But I think beyond a point, what I realized over a period of time, you have to carry everybody along. For me personally, it has worked well. One, because I really love my job, so I don't feel stressed. When I go back home, I'm generally pretty pretty light because I've loved my job, so it's not a job for me. But some tips I generally follow is one: keep at least Sundays for your family. Keep taking out some day trips.
Long
Probably once
drive.
or twice. Yeah, once a month or once every 2 months, a long drive. Maybe take 1 or 2 vacations every year. Probably explore a new city, new country,
Yeah.
and carry along. Right, you share stories with your family, make them part of your key decisions, so they understand generally. And generally, the way I at least share with all of my colleagues and my teams is it family comes first, probably US second, and then probably company and team third. And the art is around balancing it.
So that's an art. You
You
must have mastered it in the past 10, 12 years.
absolutely. So just when work is there, then you can't do anything. I think the core remains planning around it. So if you can just plan your vacation, take times when there's a downtime. Let's say during audit times, you can't do any vacation, right? As an example, right? Month end closing, board meetings, EOP planning. So those are the cycles when you can't do, but there will always be some schedules. And over a period of time, it just what works for everybody is there's no one magic formula. Whatever keeps you sane and keeps the family sane. I think I do encourage my family members. They have visited my office, so they know they met most of my work colleagues, so they at least know and have a face of what they do. Work from home actually helped last 2 3 years in general, but I think that's an evolving art, and we all keep struggling. And so far, it's been balance has been maintained.
Great, sir. Great. Sir, you all have various revenue models. So, what are your competitors and how do you differ from them? Like, what are your USPs?
Yeah. So so we are a leading auto tech
No doubt in that.
ecosystem player in the country. And we have various competitors in the various respective segments because our company is built around ecosystem of a mobility need. So that's where it starts with research of a car. It also includes buying, selling cars. It also includes financing and insurance for the car. So each segment have a different and unique competitors for us. Our USPs are a couple of them. One, uh, so we have built a company based on the problem statement of a user. And what we're trying to say is, look, I think over a period of time, mobility is a big need in any I would say culture of as a basic humanity need. Right? Probably in old Stone Age, right? People were original human were hunters and gatherers, right? Then we settled, and uh, as the GDP country grows, if the roads and highways are there, the people there's a bound need to be mobile. So that's a fundamental principle on the company, the way we are based. Uh, and I think USP is one, we are an ecosystem player. So if anybody has any need of anything in automobiles, I think we are a good platform to do anything wing to wing.
You all come to the rescue.
Uh, yes, so it's basically, you can research a car, you can buy, sell a car. And once you own the car, you can do a financing or refinancing, you can do an insurance. We're trying to think about adding services as well. So the entire journey of a life cycle of a car user is getting mapped by us. So that's a USP. I think other core things is companies built on very core value system, very cost conscious, built on sound business models and unit economics, and the talent which is like very deep and come from humble background. And we are not in the way where we are very flashy company. So we trying to be making a very solid company at the base, and trying to offer the best thing for the customer with technology as the core. So I think technology is another big principle at our end.
Yes, sir.
We would have ourselves in-house developed around 40 plus apps for across businesses, which is developed 100% in-house. And as any customer interact with us, they see and use the technology in a big way.
That's great, sir. You all had a merger of the tech and the auto industry.
Exactly. That's the reason it's called auto and tech.
Yes, sir.
And then within that, we've added, insurance and finance as well. So there's a fintech and there's an insurtech as well, along with auto tech, which is just an extension of our auto core ecosystem.
Yes, sir. So there has been an increase of 81% in your revenue from financial year 21 to 22. So how did you manage this exponential growth over the years? Like, and what do you think the company will, where will the company stand in the upcoming years?
Yeah. So look, if you take, we are a 15-year-old company. Our 15, so 1 year is never like a metrics to look at in general.
Yes.
As Jeff Bezos said, right, what we did this quarter or last 1 year, we have like done zero. What we did this year, this quarter, we decided like 2 years before or 3 years before. What we are doing today, we'll decide our 2 years later, 3 years later. So if you see our 15-year journey, we have been growing around 71, 72%. Some years are like COVID, there was like a little bit, COVID impacted years, but just after that, our long-term range is at least 50 to 80% is our range what we look for. And how have we achieved it is a few reasons. One, India as a country is significantly underpenetrated in cars. In India, there are only 22 cars per 1,000 people. If you compare to any country in the world, US has around 850 cars per 1,000 people. China is around 250 cars per 1,000 people. So by any metrics, we are like significantly underpenetrated. And cars as an ecosystem get done by two things, right? One is availability of highways and roads and infrastructure. And secondly is by disposable incomes. So I think on the first one, India is actually for last 20, 30 years has been doing a lot of good stuff. I think our highways continue to evolve and become better and better every day. And I think on the incomes, today we are still at $2,000 to $2,500 per capita. And there's a global study, by various people, the moment you touch 4,000, 4,500 plus, there's like immense amount of, after paying for your food, basic education and basic health, a lot of that disposable income goes into auto.
Yes.
So I think as a core, auto is a growing sector for us for next at least 2, 3, 4 decades. The way we have achieved growth is we actually every 3, 4 years, we actually see a new business segment. And all our segments are in exponentially growing businesses. So as an example, insurance is underpenetrated in the country.
Yes, sir.
Financing for used car is severely underpenetrated in the country. So today, only 18 cars out of 100 cars sold in used car is financed, versus around 75 cars of the new cars are getting financed. So there's a huge path of used car finance, and there are a lot of structural issues in the industry. And we coming in, what we have taken is, all these industries are like existing for like decades. What we have done is added technology into, in automating and modernizing these industries. So we have been doing it. What we've seen, and our growth has been secular across all our businesses. We have been growing significantly. We've also added our international business. So we are a major player in Indonesia. We also operate in Malaysia, Philippines. I think those are the underlying growth levers, and we continue to, build. If you see a BSE 500, the average growth of any BSE 500 on average will be around 14-15% growth per annum.
Yes, sir.
And we think our long range will be at least 50 to 80% is what we are building as.
Yes, sir. You'll have to.
We have been proving, like past 15 years, I've been around 72% or so. In next 5 years, we still are on a very significant growth trajectory based on all the things we have been doing.
So, what would you say the vision and the mission of your company are?
Yeah. So, Prisha, our vision is actually to address all mobility needs of any average Indian. That's our kind of a core purpose why we exist. And how we have translated is we want to make buying, selling, and owning vehicles delightful. And that's where we are leaders in car as well as bike ecosystems. And all our businesses and our approaches revolving around an auto user at the core, and whatever is that person's requirement, we are building across everything. And that's actually a core mission to help achieve mobility for general Indians.
Yeah, that covers it. What would be some of the changes that you would want to incorporate in the company, and like how would you enforce these changes?
So look, every company goes through its journey, as I said.
Yeah.
We are a 15-year-old startup and on the verge of becoming profitable and then getting into a listed environment. So some of the changes which we anticipate is one, a path to profitability. which we are pretty confident we will achieve in next few quarters. And we are working on a lot of these initiatives. Relook at businesses which burn a lot of money and not, having a solve in even medium to long term. And then wherever you have achieved scale, figure out a way to start driving operating leverage. So first piece is around initiatives to drive profitability. And second piece is getting ready for an IPO. So a lot of changes are required when, a unlisted company, a private company become a listed company. One, there are a lot of statutory changes. And secondly, there's a lot of thinking changes. Okay, because if you're a private company, you can do whatever you want. But the moment you become public and you take retail money, there's a lot of responsibility will come in. Okay, as as they say, right, with great powers come great responsibilities, right? So the changes are around, building, faster MIS, quarterly audits, building an independent board, building, ESG as core principles of the company, predictability, building predictability into our financials, into our businesses, enhancing our outreach and communication, transparency of information to all our stakeholders. So I think those are the changes. How we achieve or we are achieving is one by getting the buy-in from the senior leadership team, from the founders, from the board, and from all our employees, all our colleagues in the company.
Yeah.
And if you start with why and why are we doing it and get a buy-in, I think then any change becomes very easy.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of efforts are required whenever you are making change, but I think those, being proactive and tracking and measuring them helps us to, drive
Right.
changes.
So, as you mentioned earlier that you are so enthusiastic about your job, what was so intriguing about the automobile industry that made you want to work here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I think it's probably a personal goal. Luckily, my first company in my career after I graduated from SRCC and did my CA was actually an auto company. So I joined Maruti Suzuki around 21, 22 years ago. And in one of my stints within Maruti, I was sent on a training to a dealer in Delhi, where I ended up selling some cars to consumers. And when I saw, people buying their first cars, right, and putting the key and then turning the ignition on, I think that's a big milestone, right? In India, car owning is a big life milestone, right? Even any student, even today, once you become graduate, postgraduate, take first job, the first thing normally you do is buy a vehicle. So I feel it's like so core to our ecosystem and it's so severely underpenetrated. I look at it as kind of a social cause to support, India to take it forward. And then you add a technology layer around it that you do traditional business along with technology. I think that's what like attracted me is like a homecoming for me for an auto world. After 20 years, so that's the reason I got really attracted. And we have a great team. All our sectors, all the sectors we are in are having a multi-decade growth story ahead. So that's what attracted me. And can I make an impact? And those are the levers. And finally, who will I work for? And because you should also choose your boss in addition to the choosing your sector and company. And I was lucky to get all the three areas like sorted, and that's what attracted me.
That's a really inspiring experience. So, what were the challenges that you and the company faced, and like how did you tackle with them? It would be great if you could give us an example, like you just did.
Yeah. So look, I would say no challenges, but look, whenever you are making a change, always some change will require some resistance, and so I think the areas we are addressing, we are looking at problems of the average Indian citizens. So the first change was actually information accessibility. That if you want to buy a car, earlier there were 2, 3 cars available and you don't know anything about it. If your relative has bought a car, you just call the person, hey, look, you have bought a car, how was it? And the guy says, yes, it's good. And then you go and buy a car. So you can't make an objective decisions. And in the internet age, you need an easy partner who can analyze, synthesize information to you in a very transparent, objective, and easy fashion. And that's where we come in. I think that was a starting point of our problem statement or challenges we faced. and we were the leader, we the first guys to digitize all the auto information. And as we move along the journey, we noticed India is severely under-penetrated in insurance, severely under-penetrated in financing. We saw like most of the industries is manual. As an example, in old days, getting a used car loan may take as high as 30-40 days as well. Okay, if you want to, in case you're lucky to get a sanction of a used car. Okay, when we come in, we reduce it to in first pass to around 12 days. Then we kept working on improving processes. We institutionalized how will we value a car, how will we do a help in transferring a RC registration certificate, which is a title document of the car, and then how banks work. What is the individual ranking criteria, loan criteria for each of the banks, which reduced it to 6 days, and then we added a lot of stuff. So today we do anywhere between 2 to 6 days is what we do working through a marketplace. So I think the challenges are for each sector, each segment is very different. What we try to follow is have a first principle thinking and applying technology first, and helping actually country move forward, because what we do has a major impact on country. Because look, we are not manufacturing cars. There's of course big companies, OEMs who are manufacturing it, but we are making it easier for anybody in the country to own, to sell, to buy, to research.
For consumers.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Also, sir, as you mentioned that penetration of card is very low. Even I come from a rural area, and it is a kind of necessity for us to own a card because we need to travel to the towns and cities for everything. So, as the company has pledged to become a carbon neutral company by 2050, what are the steps that you would follow to achieve this? Like, I should also say that it is a great target because you all have set a target towards the sustainable growth of the country. So, this is commendable. But what are the steps that you all would follow for the same?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, look, we are the first startup in the country, and which is of scale. So, we are the first unicorn in the country to pull our target out there. 2050 is basically the timeline prescribed by United Nations. Is a convention on carbon, climate change. So we have adopted it. Our internal target is way ahead of it. So we don't want to wait for 2050. We want to probably achieve somewhere between 2030 and 2035. I think a lot of efforts are required to achieve that. And I think the first step itself is start measuring it. What is a carbon footprint? Because that gives you a consciousness, how much is your carbon footprint. So as a first step, as an example, what we did is the promoter family, we computed their carbon footprint of the entire extended family. And as an example, one revelation for me was, if you, let's say, need to travel from anywhere to anywhere, let's say if you want to come from your hometown to Delhi, to SRCC to study, right? So you have choices, right? You can take a train, you can take a bus, you can take a flight, you can drive. And what I realized as an example while we were doing these exercises, each mode of transport gives a different type of pollution impact and different carbon footprint. So as an example, air travel is the highest carbon footprint we leave on the world. So one, we made our promoter family carbon neutral. So we adopted some projects by buying some carbon credits. The next step for us is we are devising the full monitoring process, measuring how much carbon footprint we are doing it, and start taking smaller steps. So let's say if you're taking a smaller trip, let's say Delhi Jaipur, and I have a choice to go by train, go by road, go by flight, and just addressing it that can I take a train instead of a flight? So encouraging our teams, to use more environment friendly ways, sustainable ways of travel, sustainable ways of consumption, sustainable ways of living your life, living corporate lives. Choices we adopt, right? Let's say example, we're taking a coffee, right? Or we're taking drinking water, right? So do you take a plastic bottle drinking 200 milliliter or 500 milliliter, or can we put a glass bottle and we keep refilling it? So as an example, now we don't use any single-use plastic bottle. Everything is now loaded with like reusable, glass bottle which is refillable, and everything. So we're still in the journey. We have, of course, not reached there yet. Our steps to journey are identifying our footprint and then taking steps to keep reducing it and encouraging it. And that's the reason it is a longer term wish list. And if in case you or we end up still creating carbon, then figuring out a way to offset it by tree plantation. So as an example, one step we do is for any car we sell, which is let's say more polluting like a diesel car, we try to plant a tree against each car to try to offset as much as we can.
I was not aware
So
of
so those are smaller steps.
That's
That's
great.
right.
Sorry.
That's great. We were
Yeah.
not aware of that, but that's great. Planting trees for every car sale is.
Yeah. So those are some of the kind of initiatives we are working. It's still a journey. We just adopted it like 1 or 2 quarters ago. So we're still working on it. We are very conscious and very because we think being sustainable to environment is the need of the hour. Okay, because if you see, every place in the country in the world, Europe went through high, lowest temperature. UK hit 40, London hit 40 degree, right? At the same time, you see huge amount of snowstorms across the board in a lot of countries. So everywhere you see extreme temperatures and a lot of irregularities driven by climate change. So I think it's high time that companies come forward. And step one is just being conscious around it. And what we are comfortable or very very proud is once you start doing it and you involve every employee, I think all those practices goes back to their families back home. And when they start doing it, it impacts the entire communities. So I think it just for us is just a start, and we want to keep doing a lot of good stuff. By being more sustainable organization in long term.
That's great. Sir, what are the key pointers that you'll take into consideration while setting benchmarks for your employees and while making policies and framing rules for the regulation for the employees?
Yeah. So I think 2, 3 guiding principles. Of course, it depends on case by case. One, we are a people first company because in a technology company, what is the only asset we have, right? We don't have large plants, buildings, machinery, right? The primary capital we have is human capital.
Human
So we are a very very people friendly company. In fact, we just got certified as great place to work, and we are on Glassdoor. We are pretty high. We are 4.2 scale on Glassdoor, which like just zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2 away from the top startups of the world, right? Probably Google, Amazon, we are just 0.1, 0.2 away from Google. Uh, so I think that's a starting point that we have to take care of employee needs, choices. I think today everybody prefer flexibility, everybody prefer voice engagement. So any policy or any rule we create, generally have an engagement of what we are trying to arrive, and whatever policy or any rule gets implemented, start with whether it is effective and usable and solves the problem and the need of what we're trying to solve. I would say second principle we follow is also benchmark globally as well as within the country. Within the country, we look at all leading startups, all leading companies, let's say BSC 30. At global scale, we look at top 5 startups of the world and try to benchmark what we are doing is also how our other people are doing. And I would say the third lens we look at is also sustainability and let's say cost efficiency. We don't want to start anything which we don't think so is sustainable in long term. We don't want to offer massages in office or something like that, which is not sustainable in long term. Because every company goes through ups and downs. I think over a period of time, if you look at 10-year, 20-year, 30-year window, all things which you give, which is long term, right, which is core to an employee. And in our view, I think the best thing for an employee is an environment. Okay, an environment to prosper, an environment which challenges you, an environment where you can do your best. Okay, where you can. There's no limit to your canvas what you want to do, and that's what we are focusing on. Policies generally we try to limit bureaucracy. We try to do as much self-service model as possible. Like as an example, we just switch entire organization to a self-service travel model. So anybody who wants to travel, have their app, and they want to book whatever they want to book, they can just book, and then they just travel. So everybody is on a digital app, and they book for themselves. And of course, there's a backend checks which happens depending on what is the cost and everything else. But from a ease perspective, it's like you need like 30 seconds to do any booking, any travel as an example. And the system preloads of whatever the applicable rules are. So based on any bank criteria, only those options are visible, which are like very very employee friendly.
That's great. Also, sir, as you told that customers and employees are your utmost priority. So, how do you make sure to cater the needs and wants of your customers and provide them with the utmost level of satisfaction?
Yeah. So I would say 3 things we do. very differently to make sure we are addressing it. One, we study the market and the problem statement very well before we start something, because we don't want to create a company and then sell to the consumer. We want to start with customer and customer need and problem first, and then build a company and business on it. So that's the first one, is a problem identification and deep study of that problem. Second is, once you have identified the problem, how do you execute, translate into a tech-led product where it's easy to use, it's addressing the core need, it minimizes our touch points and any distractions. So that's a tech-first approach in the way we design our products and technology. And the third piece, which is actually the most important piece, is actually getting the reverse feedback. So we have a very strict policies around NPS. So we do track NPS for every segment and every business. Our target is to remain upwards of 60 NPS in any segment and every segment we operate. In some segments, our NPS is as high as 90. And in some segments, like most segments, we are above 60. Maybe in a one or two, we are lower, and we are taking steps on it. One key thing, which at least I think our company, we keep it very important, is study and read customer feedbacks. Each of the customer feedbacks gets read by senior management of the company, and that gives you very, very strong insight. Hey, look, what is the feedback we're trying to do? And most of our meetings of any business starts with reading customer feedbacks, because at the end of the day, we believe, right, even in your room there's no customer, but there has to be chair of customer, and whatever that customer is saying, we have to incorporate and live every day to make sure we make that person life easier. And so it's customer and employees, right? So if you make employees happy, if you make employee first company, they will treat the customer very, very well. So creating all this framework around monitoring and being honest with the customers, right? In case, let's say, there's any service disruption, so you share communication. Hey, look, let's say in the banking industry, right? The ATM is not working. There's an email which comes out. Hey, look, ATM will not be operational from this time to this time because of some server update. Customer does accept, and as long as there's a proactive communication. So those are the few things we do. And NPS is, we feel, just keeping a pulse on the NPS, because that's one of our long-term strategic 7 priorities as well, to make sure we can never lose sight on the customer, because at the end of the day, customer pays our bill, and if we are not innovating every day to keep up with the customer problem statements and the challenges he or she faces, we have a chance to become redundant, which we don't want to be. So hence connecting the customers is a big one. I personally encourage all my immediate teams, at least all our finance, legal, border teams, to go and meet at least one customer every quarter. What helps is, and at least I followed in my career as a finance guy, normally you'll see most companies, finance guys don't end up meeting customers. Maybe only collection guys meet customers. But I encourage everybody to go and meet customers, and if possible, be in the sales team shoes only. Okay, because the moment you start interacting and selling, what is the other side problem. Because what happens is, you end up creating processes, this payment approval needs 20 approvals, and by the time it approved, it has lost its relevance, and you miss the customer transaction. So having that customer centricity approach and pulling it back into your day-to-day stuff makes it a very agile organization, and you remove unnecessary steps and solve everything to technology. So that's what we try to drive actually, and so far we've been successful.
Yes, sir. Even I heard Amit sir in one of his Shark Tank interviews. He was telling that he always goes through customer feedback, and he makes sure that, because customer is the face of the company, kind of thing. It's a lot of organic growth takes place. So
Absolutely. So unless you make customer as your top priority, and if the senior management does it, then it percolates down to the entire organization. Imagine Amit is reading every customer feedback. So then there's no choice. Next team members and further levels, they are not reading. And any organization which is customer driven, okay, will always be more agile, right? Right. Amazon is an example, right? They claim to be world's most customer centric company on the earth, right? And as a consumer, you can feel it. So any company which is the biggest mode has to be your customer centric. And we also almost follow the exactly same philosophy, where customer comes first, and you work and set up the processes. And it's possible that processes are not yet set, or in some areas there are some gaps. So once you start getting feedback, continuous loop of feedback and innovation helps us keep upgrading our processes.
Yes, sir. So, sir, since this time we have Amit Jain sir as a shark in the Shark Tank season two. So, sir, what are your views on the same? So, sir, how would it affect the branding and promotion of Cardico?
Yeah. So look, firstly, Shark Tank is I would say, great platform. I'm a personal big fan of that series. I think last season came in, and I think it's unleashing a huge entrepreneurship revolution in the country. Because in the old world, when I actually graduated from SRCC, there was no capital available, and either you join your father or your uncle business, or you move into some job. Okay, and today capital is available, and when you see people around doing it, I think it just creates a huge kind of a viral effect. And so far, season one has done a lot of good, I would say, impact. Same we expect of season two as well. Amit coming particularly from a very humble background, right? He still lived and based in Jaipur. If you see across majority of startups and largely all unicorns and majority of, let's say, below unicorns, every founder shifts away from their small town and shifts to Bombay, Gurgaon, Bangalore, right? Those cities. And probably may stay or may not stay in touch with the roots. I think Amit is one of those few examples where that he still stayed in a joint family setup and built a world class organization in a smaller town. So I think that's a power, and I think that's an inspiration for the country at large. And that's actually inspired me as well to join. Now, from a company branding and marketing publicity, look, those are, I would say, side effects. That's not the primary goal. I think primary goal is figure out a way by which you pay back to the country, to the society. Okay, by sharing your story, by funding ideas which are not getting funded, by you know especially from people coming from remote towns, right, smaller towns where there's no capital. There's no, like, there will not be like large VCs and private equity funds going to those towns. So for them, it's very good platform to come in, showcase the ideas, the entire country sees it. And through like 5, 6 sharks, right, some investments getting made. So we're very fortunate to be part of it. I think the back end of that is managed by my team only. So I have a first-hand view of the entire process. I personally met every shark and I've attended a shooting as well. And believe me, like whatever gets visible on the stage is all real live. Like no shark knows what is coming up. So it's a very unique experience. I've never seen showbiz side of industry. Uh, so it's like really, really live and real. And I was really touched because for each venture or startup, they only show like 10 minutes, 15 minutes probably. I think till last year they were showing 8, 9 minutes. This year they're showing 15, 20 minutes. One season, one episode talks about like 2, 3, 4 ideas. But actual shooting goes for 2 hours, right? So there's a lot of extra in-depth questions you go in. I was like so amazed by type of people which come in. But on your specific question, I think it does actually help us. It becomes, it helps us make our company brand name Karthiko as kind of day-to-day name in the, in the country. I think the other sharks which has experienced last year, I've heard stories that, right after Shark Tank, right, their, searches went up significantly. But I think those are like, I would say, sidebar and distractions. I think we are remaining core focused on serving our consumers and through at least platform like Shark Tank, right, helping country and general Indian citizens, also become entrepreneurs. In fact, Amit keeps saying, if anybody wants to do, and if your situation permits, you should. He encourages everybody to be an entrepreneur because that's when you learn the most. Because as a 9 to 5 employee, or even let's say I don't know 9 to 9 employee, you can learn a lot of things. But the moment you are thrown into doing everything yourself, you have to pay monthly salary bill. And if you don't do something unique, and if you're not able to pay that salary bill, it teaches you a lot of stuff. So I think that's our key focus is, look, once you've made unicorn, right, so we have proven our business model. We're on the path of IPO. And I think Amit, as an example, would like to now contribute back to the society. So those are great ways to contribute to the broader ecosystem of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, when can we expect Karthiko to go public?
Yeah, Tejas. So we actually are working on it, as I said, very diligently. As of today, we are already operating like a listed company internally. So we do our all shareholder call every quarter. We are soon going to start our quarterly audits. Uh, our engagement, our investors are increasing significantly. We have built our formal audit committees, all the committees required for a listed company. We have built a solid governance team. There's internal audit teams, there are ethics team, there are ESG teams. So a lot of stuff has happened. We expect to probably go, hopefully, end of this current calendar year is what we expect. Our key milestone remains profitability, and that's what we are focusing on right now with head down. We're trying to make sure that we know loss making tech startups globally has now lost steam. I think there's a reset because of increase in interest rates. Gone are the days of zero interest rate where free money was flowing everywhere. Now, since there's a cost to the money globally, it has like reduced valuations of the startups. But for us, it's always been good. But we are ready. So first step is profitability, and which we expect to achieve in a few quarters. And then right after that is we expect to go listed while already practicing as a dry run for last, at least 2 quarters already. And by then we'll already practice 1 year, at least 1 year. We want to be ready before we hit, and that's what we are doing today.
So
And
definitely,
absolutely, it's for us is actually for me personally as a CFO, it's a very interesting journey where, basically it's a boy turning man. That's the way I look at it. Or let's say you're graduating from a college and taking your first job. That's kind of an IPO to me because it comes with a lot of responsibilities, right?
Yes.
yes, sir.
So one thing I always worry, right, the moment you take retail money, you are just somehow become, one day itself you become very, very requirement of becoming highly responsible company.
Yes, you are answerable
Uh,
to the stakeholders.
Absolutely. Look, we are answerable today as well. But yeah, what happens is private money, private capital is a risk capital. Okay. Private equity, venture capital, they invest, they know like a lot of startups will fail. Uh, but once you hit public, okay, then you're taking small money, 15,000, 20,000, 50,000, right? Retail people, hard earned money. So you have to be very, very careful and and a CFO role is a very fiduciary driven role, right? We need to make sure we are accountable and responsible to keep that money safe. And of course, we don't drive the valuation, but at least what we drive is the actions in the company: governance, profitability, growth. I think those are the three things which we will focus on. But we are on track. That's what, and that's I think the fun part of my job currently to work on some of those steps.
Yes, sir. So since you are an alum of SRCC, so sir, how were your experience back in the days? Could you give us a synopsis of your 3 years in the college?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, no, so it's very, very interesting question. Uh, so look, I would say those 3 years were like, I would say one of the most, I would say, perception, confidence, learning, building years of my life. I went to a small school in Delhi, and then when I entered, and like probably I was the one of the top 1 or 2 guys in my school. But when I come to SICC, like everybody's like a topper around, right? This topper, that topper. The entire country's toppers were sitting there, and somehow you just are like one among 600 folks or 500 folks. Uh, but what I found very interesting in my 3 years in summary was like amazing is what I can tell you. I had a wonderful time. I would say study wise is still okay. I think most of us or most of the students who went to SRCC end up studying a lot of stuff ourselves, though we have access to the best professors in the country and probably in the world. But I think that's not the biggest drive, right? Because you are assuming, right? If you make the entry there, then you can study yourself as well. But I think the biggest thing was because of that ecosystem, the entire, and I think Amit uses it this analogy a big way that your average of the 5 people you work with or interact with, right?
Yeah.
So you work with the best guys, you further pull yourself up. Then you pick up next 5 guys, and then you further pull. So SICC gives that platform to have the best, I would say, peer group who are like very, very charged, want to do something, really do something in the life. And because is the premier college, right? It attracts. So any event happening anywhere in the country, probably in the world, gets access to SICC. So it's very fortunate. I probably would have participated in, I don't know, hundreds of events in college, outside college. So had a very So studies wise, I was pretty average because because study was not something I was trying to come out of it. because I thought next stage will be CA, SIC like me, enjoy the I would say building perspective, knowledge. So I do remember, right, those years, I would have probably heard every large personality in the country. Maybe Amartya Sen, maybe like because SIC gave that platform to
Yeah.
know what's happening. And I had a great friends, right? All those friends are still in touch after 22 years of graduation. I still remember our college canteen, like best food possible. The only place when we used to step out of college is like Chacha Ji, Chole Bhature. Rest everything was within the college. We had a great college cricket field,
Yes.
and those days there used to be GCR and BCR, the boys' common room and girls' common room. I don't think so. It's there now.
The
Yeah,
girls'
it's
common
Uh,
room
still
is
there.
still there, I suppose.
it's still there. It's still there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think those were the best days. With like great professors around who encourage you, best friend circle and peer group,
Yes, sir.
and the access to so many events in the country, and it has tied up with, let's say, all the best colleges, right? Bombay, IIT Delhi, BITS Pilani, a lot of IMs. So we were fortunate, and I was fortunate to be in that group which participated in lots of such events. So great to be back. I was actually a member of Commerce Society as well at that time.
Wow.
So that's the reason in 98 to 2000 is the way I tell you. It's a deja vu for me when I heard Commerce Society and uh, you know this opportunity rises. So, but I really thoroughly enjoy, and it gives me as they say, right. One of my past bosses used to say, some of these things are always like a spring, right? The more it pushes you down, the more it gives you platform to rise up and become big. I think SRCC gives that platform. It's up to us how much what you want to use. I think I've seen some people who just only focus on studies. Look, anybody getting to SRCC, I don't think so study is an issue. You will study. I would say one thing which we should do more is hustling and building solid bonds, right?
Yes, sir.
Because especially
Society.
day scholars, they just go back home, don't spend too much time because they're studying. There's some coaching, there's CAT, or there is CA coaching. What I realize is, let's say engineering guys, right, similar level engineering guys, because they bond together, they live in hostels. If I see they are like, let's say, similar batches of, let's say, some premier engineering college, somehow, like when I meet a lot of college alumni, everybody feels right. We want to connect back to the community, back to the college community. People just lose touch because the bond is very very good, but it's still not the solid mode bond.
Yes,
But it's a
sir.
great platform. I would say anywhere I go, I find an SRCC alum in like top position sitting there. So it's a very very solid, I would say, institution, and very very proud to be part of that institution.
Great, sir. Great. Even a lot of my cousins and juniors, when they ask me what's the difference you find out, I tell them that even in the 3 years, if I don't do anything, but because of the company I have, I'll end up learning a lot. So,
No, absolutely. And look, it's up to us. And I would love to see entrepreneurship ecosystem evolve in SRCC. I would love to see, like, as an example, I think yesterday there was this episode on Shark Tank, right? There was a
yes,
girl
sir.
from
Yes,
SRCC,
and she got
and
funded.
Amit invested.
Yes,
Amit invested in that. So I was very happy inside, right? Frankly speaking, right? That somebody from SRCC, though from EcoSoc, right? Or Eco-honors. So she did something, bold,
yes, sir.
and I was pretty proud to see that. So I would encourage. I would, if my message can be passed, I would encourage. If everybody in the college should try out something new.
For sure.
And today, capital access is not a problem at all. Like I would tell you, it's just the idea and your passion and a dream. And today, all those avenues are available, especially with the internet and all the options available.
Yes,
So I would love to see a few unicorns coming out from SRCC founders. That will be my dream, actually, as a
definitely.
next goal.
Sure. So, having multiple sources of revenue, such as ad placement, loan commitment, and sale of car accessories, keeping in mind the trust building of the customers, which source would you say is the most efficient in order to like increase your earnings? I think.
Yeah. So Prisha, look, we don't differentiate in the nature of revenue. Revenue is revenue, right? Given we are kind of a group of businesses, each business performs in a different way. and each business is going in a big way, and every business will be profitable. So the way I will look at it is core auto, and then the attachments which are financing and insurance. And I think all these segments have their own unique, characteristics and unique unit economics. So we are working towards it. And what for us, I think more than revenue is what matters is the bottom line as well, because revenue is a way to drive a bottom line. At least if I put a finance hat around it, and some segment may be more profitable, some segment may be lesser profitable. I think what matters is how can you compound. If I put a investor hat, how can you compound your EPS year on year is what matters at the end of the day. And I think we are focused around it. Having said that, I would say we want to grow all our segments, and whatever is getting successful and profitable, we want to continue launching in international markets. We've already launched in Southeast Asia markets. Once we are like stable, successful, probably we look at other markets as well after.
Like we know, you're a storehouse of knowledge. You were in various respectable positions in various different companies. So, what is the one piece of advice you would enlighten the younger generation like us with?
Yeah, so I would say a few things. One, if possible, start something on your own. Okay, take an entrepreneurship role, because early stage, you don't have experience, but you have energy, you have passion. Okay, you may not have money. Money is not a problem today. So try to see if the youngsters today can take something on our own. India is a land of opportunity. And in case that's not, let's say, an option or don't want to do it, then join a startup, a company, or group, which you attach it with, with at least the thought process, with the purpose, right? And try to find out companies with some social purpose embedded in them, because if we can use, let's say, our jobs, our careers to drive a social good, I think that goes a long way in living I would say, fulfilling life as well as impact on the society. So as you choose a startup, a company, if possible, choose startups, because that's where you get challenged the most, and it's not necessarily only the big four or a consulting firm. And once you are inside whichever company you choose, pick up the toughest jobs possible. Okay, and pick your right boss, and right boss who's the toughest boss. Okay, because the more you learn early on by taking tough jobs, and a boss, a mentor, a coach who can actually push you hard and help you learn more, and help you drive more experiences in every year, then I would say the learning growth is just fast. And as you go along, just always try to make sure you're working hard, but also balancing it with by taking some occasional breaks, having fun, stay connected with the with your fraternity, with your friends, families. A lot of times I've seen people work so hard that they just lose touch. I'll tell you, in our batch, right, 2000 batch, most of us are not connected for 20 years. Okay, COVID happened in 2020, and that time somebody reached out, hey, look, somebody knows somebody. So we created a WhatsApp group, and almost after 20 years, we created a WhatsApp group of our batch. And now, if not all, at least 20-30% people are now connected. And I would tell you, 80-90% people of them were met after like 20 years of leaving college. So I would recommend, at least on this, is stay connected, because it's an ecosystem. Everybody's going through a journey, and share experiences and have fun, and do as much hard work as possible. Because look, if you are not smart, or if you are like still not having like a skill set, but if you have a learning mentality, right? If you keep learning and become a learning machine and work hard, you are unbeatable. That's what I realized when I hire anybody. The person may be from this background or that background, but if that person has this ability to continuously learn and upgrade, and is hardworking and had the right attitude, and attitude means, just it's okay, right? Just work hard. One bad day, that's okay. Next day, again, come back with like full lunchbox mein ready. Let's do something. Kuch aaj toofani karte hain. I think that just over a period of time it builds up is what I will recommend. A lot of people today I see, or at least some people I see, right, may not be in depth. They are looking for the next job. They are looking for यार और क्या कर सकता हूँ. जो भी कर रहा हूँ उसमें नहीं focus है. What else can I do it? So मेरा recommendation होगा, take the toughest jobs, probably in the toughest companies, probably in toughest environments, and go deep and do the best in that, and everything follow automatically. Okay, is what I can tell you. Because क्या ना, अगर उसमें सब बड़ा करोगे तो next job अपने आप ही बढ़िया आएगा. But if you're looking for the next role and next job or next career or next thing, you will never do good in what you're doing today.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us by sharing your experiences and opinions. With this, we finally come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. We are really honored to have interacted with you. It was really an enriching and wonderful session for us, and we are sure that it will be the same for our viewers and readers. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank Akshay Kaushal, sir, for doing all the necessary coordination and making this interview a success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you,
pleasure and all the best.
Thank you, sir. It was great to have heard your experiences. I'm glad that I got this opportunity. I can't thank you enough, but really thank you.
It enlightened a spark of inspiration within us after this 1 hour.
My pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All the best. All the best. Great.
Yes.
Take care. Thank you.
It was really great connecting with you. Thank you.
अक्षय सर,
हाँ जी, बताइए सर.
सर जैसे हम ना इवेंट्स भी होस्ट करते हैं, तो सर इज इट पॉसिबल कि जैसे अमित सर आ सके अगर कॉलेज में इन नियर फ्यूचर कभी भी?
यार किस तरह के इवेंट करते हो?
सर स्पीकर सेशंस करते हैं मेनली, तो
ट्राई कर सकते हैं. देखिए यार, ऑनेस्टली ना, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन फर्स्ट अवेलेबिलिटी, सेकंड कैलेंडर, है ना. तो
सर
मतलब आपका शेयर योर कैलेंडर विद अस, जो आपके माँ की इवेंट्स हैं जहाँ पे आप बुलाते हो इस तरह के इंडस्ट्री के लोगों को. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ इवेंट्स डू यू गाइस ऑर्गेनाइज, प्लस उसके बाद मैसेजिंग क्या दे रहे हो, मतलब रेलेवेंस भी देखना पड़ता है इवेंट का.
जी सर.
अगर आप बात कर रहे हो फैशन पे तो अमित जैन नहीं आएगा, राइट. इफ इट्स अबाउट एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, स्टार्टअप्स, मोटिवेशन प्रोबेबली, और hustling, तो वो सब पे अमित कैन, ही इज अ ग्रेट स्पीकर इन दैट सेंस. ही हैज डन टॉक्स,
Yes.
और कॉलेजेस में भी जाते हैं. ही टेक्स ऑनलाइन लेक्चर्स समटाइम्स टू मोटिवेट गाइस. तो दैट इज फाइन, वी कैन एक्सप्लोर दैट. आई कैन नॉट प्रॉमिस एनीथिंग राइट नाउ.
यस सर.
अब वो ईयर एंडर आते आते, अब आप मेरे को अगर मार्च में बोलोगे कि अभी अभी करा दो, थोड़ा सा फाइट हो सकता है.
डेफिनेटली सर.
ठीक है?
वी आर ट्राइंग कि सर अप्रैल फर्स्ट वीक में हम, क्योंकि सर हमारा ना मेन इवेंट होता है उस टाइम पे, सो सर हम यूजुअली ऐसे ही गेस्ट को कॉल करते हैं.
हाँ, आप मेरे को एक जस्ट प्रिपेयर, आई एम श्योर यू हैव ऑल द डिटेल्स विद यू ना.
जी सर.
पास्ट इवेंट्स का मेरे को भेज दीजिए कुछ, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ स्पीकर्स यू हैव रिसीव्ड, और ये जो इवेंट होगा इसमें और कौन आ रहा है. विल इट बी अ टॉक, विल इट बी अ पैनल डिस्कशन, इंटरव्यू, ठीक है. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मार्केटिंग दैट यू गाइस विल डू, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ विल देयर बी इन मीडिया, सो दैट वी प्रिपेयर अकॉर्डिंगली. क्योंकि अब क्या होता है ना, सोशल मीडिया इज आल्सो वेरी पावरफुल, तो वी नीड टू नो कि हु ऑल आर आवर ऑडियंस. कई बार ऐसा होता है, इसीलिए मैंने आपसे कहा था कि प्लीज लेट मयंक नो इफ यू गाइस वांट टू रिकॉर्ड, राइट? यू रिमेंबर?
Yes, sir.
जी.
Because the person who is speaking needs to know what kind of outcome it can be. अभी since it's a formal channel, तो आपने यहाँ पे there is no harm, but एक टॉक हो रही है कहीं पे, मतलब कॉलेज में अगर कोई एड्रेस कर रहा है, और कई बार होता है ना कि आप you may make out different senses of a statement, और वो ऑनलाइन कोई YouTube पे डाल सकता है.
जी सर.
मीडिया वाला कोई है तो थोड़ा और फॉर्मल हो जाता है स्पीकर.
जी.
कि अगर मैं स्टूडेंट से बात कर रहा हूँ, आई वांट टू बी अ बिट विटी, लेकिन वहां पे मीडिया है तो शायद मैं नहीं होऊंगा. आई विल स्टे टू द फॉर्मल टोन, क्योंकि मीडिया उसका क्या करेगा अपने को पता नहीं. दे माइट कंक्लूड समथिंग एल्स. तो जस्ट वर्क इट आउट. लेट मी हैव अ लुक. वील लुक एट अमित्स कैलेंडर, और देन वील फिगर इट आउट. कर लेंगे
डेफिनेटली सर. क्योंकि सर जैसे हमने कल ही एक पैनल डिस्कशन होस्ट करा था, तो सर राज्यसभा के सेक्रेटरी, आईएएस ऑफिसर, सारे ये पर्सनालिटीज थी. अलॉन्ग विद इतना ज्यादा मीडिया आया था कल, तो सर छोटा मोटा इवेंट तो होता नहीं है सर. मतलब ऑडिटोरियम में हुआ था, तो सर मेनली सर 500 लोगों की कैपेसिटी है, सिटिंग कैपेसिटी. तो सर हम ट्राई करेंगे कि वहीं पे इवेंट हो. एंड मीडिया में भी सर पर्सनल कनेक्शंस है, तो मीडिया भी
नहीं, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि मेरे को मीडिया विजिबिलिटी चाहिए. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि अगर आती है तो लेट अस नो. सो कीप ऑल द पॉइंट्स अवेलेबल एंड इन्फॉर्म्ड.
बिल्कुल
कि आप ये इवेंट करते हो, वहाँ मीडिया भी होगा, स्टूडेंट्स भी होंगे, वीडियोस भी बनेगा, राइट? इट्स नॉट अ क्लोज डोर इंटरेक्शन, इट विल बी एन ओपन डोर विद ऑडियंस। वो सब मैं कह रहा था।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
मैं नहीं कह रहा कि हमें विजिबिलिटी चाहिए
नहीं,
मीडिया से, क्योंकि ऐसा एक दो बार हो चुका है वेयर इन द स्पीकर इज टॉकिंग टू अ सेट ऑफ ऑडियंस एंड वी डिडंट न्यू कि मीडिया भी है वहां पे। तो इट्स नॉट अबाउट बीइंग विजिबल, इट्स अबाउट नोइंग हु इज लिसनिंग टू अस।
जी सर।
वो वाला एंगल है, ठीक है?
हाँ जी,
यू हैव माय ईमेल आईडी विद यू, मेरा नंबर भी आपके पास है।
जी सर,
लेट्स स्टे कनेक्टेड, कुछ भी होगा we'll definitely try to
डेफिनेटली।
get it done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you so much. All the best, guys. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
कैसा था
Great.
भैया?
बहुत बढ़िया, ग्रेट जॉब।
Thank you.
बहुत बढ़िया।
था कि like feedback थोड़ा improve करें next time अगर
नहीं, it was great.